A continuación, en Poder 97.1, tu hora informativa. Entrevistas e información para nuestra comunidad. Y ahora con ustedes, Ida Pérez.
Buenos días, mi gente de Rochester, y bienvenido a su hora informativa. Mi nombre es Ida Pérez y para mí es un verdadero placer poder estar con ustedes en esta mañana. Su hora informativa es un programa que les trae información importante que esperamos que los inspire a una mejor calidad de vida para usted y su familia. Cubrimos información sobre los campos de salud, educación, empleo, vivienda y muchos otros temas más que nos afectan como persona y como pueblo. Su hora informativa está aquí todos los sábados de 10 a 11 de la mañana y nos alegramos muchísimo de que estén con nosotros nuevamente en el día de hoy. Hoy tengo unos invitados que son muy cercanos a mi corazón porque son personas lo cual yo he trabajado con todos ellos. Y interesante porque casi nunca tenemos programas de Ibero en el programa. Tenemos que bregar con eso, ¿verdad? Traer más de nuestros programas y compartir con la comunidad qué es lo que nosotros hacemos aquí en Ibero. Le voy a pedir a cada uno de ellos que se presente, que nos digan de dónde es originalmente y cuánto tiempo llevan aquí en Rochester, y no sé quién quiera empezar.
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Lilian Vega. Soy nacida y criada aquí en Rochester. Llevo aquí muchísimos años, toda mi vida.
¿Y de dónde son originalmente tus papás?
Originalmente mi mamá es de Calley y mi papá es de Añasco.
I didn't know that. Yo no sabía que tu mamá era de Calley.
Sí, de Calley, de la línea.
Oh, wow. Sí, mis papás eran de Calley, pero del Polvorín.
Okay,
mira para allá.
Wow.
¿Y qué trajeron tus papás para acá?
Bueno, mi papá era un farmer.
Ajá.
Entonces, él vino aquí a Rochester buscando una vida mejor y mi mamá también, y se conocieron aquí.
Oh, ellos se conocieron aquí.
Se conocieron aquí, vivían en el mismo edificio.
Ah, mira qué chévere.
Sí.
¿En qué año fue eso? Do you know?
Ay, no, muchísimos años atrás.
Sí.
Yo diría como 57 años.
Ajá, sí. Porque sé que mucha gente muchos de los hombres vinieron en los 50 y los 60.
Sí.
Yeah, nice. No sabía, mira, todo este tiempo que te conocí, yo no sabía que tu mamá era de Calle.
Sí, de
Mira,
Calle,
vaya.
sí.
Who wants to go next? ¿Quién quiere ser
I can go
próximo?
next. In Spanglish, right?
Como tú quieras.
Inglés, español. My name is Lucia Colindres Vasquez. I've been here for 37 years in Rochester, but I was born in El Salvador, where both of my parents lived. And when I came to this country, I was almost 14 years old. And yeah, I've been here ever since. And this is home really for me since I came at such early age.
And Lucia, what brought you here to Rochester at the age of 14?
I didn't come by choice.
Okay.
My parents wanted me to migrate here for a better life. You know, it was during the Civil War in El Salvador, so there's a lot going on over there.
Yeah.
Pure necessity, but you know, I'm glad my father's here, Carlos. He's a musician, and you know, he made this his home as well.
Were they already here? Did you come to live with one of them, or was it a family member? Like, tell us the story.
Oh, jeez. My dad came to Geneseo, and ended up coming to Rochester once he got married and he was settled, and they sent for me. So I've been here with my dad. Really, he's my only relative here, so that's why I'm so Puerto Ricanizada, because you know, really my extended family and friends are Puerto Ricanos.
Okay, cool. All right, and
hi, I'm Alex Cruz. I'm the new director of Early Child Services at Ibero, and I was born in New Jersey.
Okay.
I've been here my whole life. However, I came here when I was very young. So Rochester's my hometown.
Yeah.
My parents are from Puerto Rico. My mother's from Juana Diaz, Puerto Rico, and my father's from San Sebastián, Puerto Rico. So I'm a very proud Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
I absolutely love my culture,
Yeah.
and I embrace being a Puerto Rican American growing up in Rochester.
So when your parents came to the United States, did they go straight to New Jersey, or how did that happen?
My mom went to Connecticut. My father also they met in Connecticut.
Okay,
My older brother was born there. Then they moved to New Jersey. That's where I was born.
Okay.
And then I came to Rochester as a young kid.
And what brought them here to the United States?
for a better opportunity,
Yeah.
better opportunity. So
Yeah.
they came here young as well.
Yeah.
They came with my grandparents,
Yeah.
and they brought them here for better opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. And I always like to ask that question because people think that we're very different and we're not, right? Because it really doesn't matter. I mean, it turns out that we have, the table is full with Puerto Ricans, but, sometimes we have people from other countries, but their stories are always the same, right? They came here for a better life. They came here because of work, or they came here for, because they had relatives, or they came here to study, or they came here chasing after love. And so there's always these cool stories, but they're always similar. And so that's why I always like to ask that question. And also, to let people know that, because I say this all the time, people complain about Rochester a lot, but, there's a lot of people that have come here and made Rochester their home and are doing great things in our community. And that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today. So we're really focusing on Ibero's Early Childhood Services program. It's the center. And, I could probably speak about it a whole bunch because I ran the center for 19 years. Alex is now the new director. But who wants to tell me a little bit about the history of the center, how long it's been in existence, that type of thing?
Okay. I first want to say that I have big shoes to fill. Ida Perez.
My feet are little. I got little feet.
I definitely want to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job,
You've left
Alex.
a legacy at Ibero, and I've always looked up to you.
Thank you.
We go back.
Yeah, we go back. We go back to
And,
Head Start.
I've always looked up to you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
So the Child Care Center has been in operation for over 30 years. We service children from all four quadrants of the city, but mostly 14605, 14609, and 14621, which are all in the northeast quadrant of the city.
Yes.
The center today serves 132 children ages 0 through 4, and includes programs like Early Head Start, Universal Pre-Kindergarten, UPK, and Child Care Subsidy.
Yeah.
The children are 60% Latino and 40% African American, and now we're getting a lot of diverse population with the new immigrants coming in from Rochester. So we're getting children from Venezuela, from Central America, from South America.
Yeah.
So we've been culturally responsive to that population.
Yeah.
Each program has its own eligibility based on the funded requirements. Most programs are free of charge to families based on the funding. We are licensed by the Office of Children and Family Services, OCFS, and we must follow the OCFS regulations. We currently have 11 classrooms, 5 early Head Start classrooms. We have 2 Head Start classrooms, 3 UPK classrooms, and 1 Child Care Subsidy classroom.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, let's talk about diversity, because a lot of people think, that Ibero only services Latinos.
And you heard
that's
40%,
not true. Yes,
right?
40%. And I remember when I first started at Ibero, we did have maybe like 98% Latinos and no other, other than an African-American family. And I think we had like an Asian family that we serviced at the time. And I remember one of my goals was to increase that, right? Because we did have a lot of families that qualified, but they were not applying because they thought that we only service Latinos. So tell us, Lucia, maybe you can tell us a little better about why we had to kind of move from that mindset and make sure that people knew that Ibero service anyone in need.
Right.
So talk a little bit about that.
So I think based on the eligibility is really important, right? Because sometimes people think that it is easy to get in, and it is not, because the need is so great, especially for younger children, that we do have a waiting list. However, for some programs like Head Start, Early Head Start, or even City School District for UPK, EPK, it's been, it's a collaboration. So it's not just on us, but they have to meet the eligibility requirements. But just asking and inquiring about it is really important, because even if they're not, able to get in right away, we can put them on a waiting list. We can always call back. We always have spots where, a child might leave. And that's really important. Now, when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a huge, huge component of current funding that we have through the Greater Rochester Health Foundation, it's allowing us to put more emphasis on what it is that we need to do to make sure that our children are feeling included, and so do our parents, right? Yeah. So many times what happens regarding parents is that when they go to other centers or other sites, not all of them, but the Spanish-speaking primarily get excluded just for the simple fact that language access is a huge barrier everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere the Latinos touch, and language access is a barrier. So for us, that's not right. Like it's the opposite, because we thrive with just, we don't even have to think about it. It's just a given, right? That we're gonna have bilingual bicultural staff, and that our information is gonna be bilingual bicultural. But we have to make sure that we're also following the same steps for our other children that are coming into our classroom, because we have to mirror those populations in the same way. It's quite a unique, and I love it. I love the center because it's so diverse, and also the kids get to learn Spanish. They get to eat our foods, right? Like, so we get to share all those special kind of cultural components.
Right. And how do you feel? What do you think? And maybe Lillian can answer this question. Parents, how important is that for parents? Right, whether they're Latino or not, to be able to come to a center and feel that they're included. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
So that's extremely important. A lot of the families that come to us, they don't speak English, and then it's also a culture shock. So when they come to the center, immediately they're greeted by familiar faces. They're greeted by Hispanics, and they're spoken in their own language, and that is very welcoming. It feels like home to them. And we make sure that all the information that we give to parents, that it's in Spanish. If there's a form that is not available in Spanish, we make sure that we fill out the form and we translate that information in Spanish for them.
Yeah. But what about some of the African American families that we serve, or families from other places that are now coming to our center? Like, what are they saying? How are they feeling? And I know, Alex, I think you wanted to say something in regards to that.
So as the new director, I want to make sure that all children and families feel welcomed, right? Feel included, feel supported. And I'm doing everything I can, to make them to give them that sense of belonging, right? So I want them to see themselves in books, right? I want them to feel at home. I want them to feel comfortable, right? To feel like a family, right? That's important to me. I remember when I was growing up and I was in school, I remember when as a Puerto Rican American growing up in New Jersey, which is where I first lived, I remember when teachers had something in Spanish, right? Had a display in Spanish, or there was a book with a character that looked like me. I was very motivated. So, I reflect on when I was a kid, and that's what I want to cultivate at the Early Child Center. I want children to see themselves in books. I want families to feel welcomed. I want families to feel like they belong. I want that sense. I want to foster that sense of belonging.
I was thinking about Relisha, who's one of our parents. I was really proud of her last week. We had a meeting, and she was just talking about all the things that she got out of being part of the center, right? Like, she talked about behavioral things that every child goes through, right? And that it was hard to cope with that. But, through the tools that you guys talked to her about during those sessions, where the parents had the opportunity to learn about, if the child's acting up, this is the best approach, right? Like, taking some time, giving them a minute, She was talking about acting now at Wegmans. And I'm like, I know exactly what you mean, right? It's not just unique to her. But for her, I think what she was sharing is the fact that she was able to, through those workshops, listen and kind of dive into, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm taking control of myself and my emotions? And therefore, how do I support my child going through something like that? And taking the time to do that through workshops is extremely important, because that's when you normalize things, but you also have an opportunity to kind of think outside of the box. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was health literacy, because we do a lot of that. It's not just the language barrier, right? The Spanish, English. It's also understanding forms. I know Hildred has been very helpful with like our subsidy applications, right? Like,
which can be dreadful.
Oh my goodness! Like, no offense, it's helpful and
it's stressful.
But some parents give up because you have to complete 10 different forms. And that comes down more with like literacy, and being able to kind of follow through.
And just life in general, it's overwhelming. And now you need to, now you're being told, okay, you got to go to work or you got to go to school, but now you got to fill out all these forms, not just to go to work or go to school, but also now to enroll your child. And, some of that is just super overwhelming and can really, hinder people. They kind of get stuck there, right? And they're like, oh my God, this is just too much. I can't deal with all of this. So Lillian, tell us a little bit about what components do you guys have at the center that kind of helps parent with that? Tell us a little bit about like the family services assistants and those type of things, your health advocate, like how all those things come to play when it comes to parents and children and their families.
Yeah, so Ibero is very unique because we're not a daycare, right? At a daycare, you drop off your child, you make a payment, and that is it. So we are early childhood services. Your child comes to Ibero to learn. And what we have, the difference is that we have family services assistant. That is a worker that is specifically assigned to each family. And that worker works with the family, eliminating the barriers that are preventing the child from being in school. Any barriers that the family may have, like RG&E, no food, referrals needed, if they're in crisis, domestic violence. We've seen so many different situations at Ibero, and we've been able to assist the families navigate different systems and also escape the crisis that they are currently going through. We so each family has that family service assistant assigned to them regardless of the program that they're in.
Yeah.
We also
let me just emphasize on that, because I think what makes it unique is that as soon as that person has interest in the program, they haven't even enrolled, right? They haven't even enrolled. They may stop by or call and say, "Hey, I'm in. I have a child that's 2 years old, and I want to know what automatically that person is connected with the FSA for that age group."
Correct.
And so from day one, the first contact that they have with our center, they're going to have it with the person that now is going to remain with them while their child is there.
Right.
And that's unique and that's different. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to, because you don't have that everywhere you go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you're going to have that one to-go person from day one.
And that worker will follow you throughout the entirety of the program that the child is in. So if the child enters, let's say infants, they enter at 6 weeks old. So that FSA, Family Service Assistant, will work with that family for the next 3 years in early Head Start. And then after that, then that family transitions to a Head Start FSA. And then they continue working together, eliminating all those barriers. Yeah. And the great thing about having a family service assistant is that the worker will do an assessment. They do an assessment on every aspect of the family's needs: housing, financial, employment, education, natural support, whatever their needs are. All of those areas gets assessed, and then the family identifies what are the goals that they want to work on, and they take it step by step. So it's not the FSA identifying; it is the parent. This is parent-driven, family-driven.
And so what happens after that? Let's say they identify, housing. Okay, I've been wanting to buy a house for the longest, but financially it's been hard. So what happens? What happens with that family?
Okay, so very, very exciting. So what happens is the family identified the goal already, and then they'll talk about, okay, so let's take a look at your credit. Let's pull your credit report. Let's see where you're at. Do you need to improve your credit report? Then we'll sign you up for some classes regarding finances so that they can help you with your credit score. After that gets taken care of, that may take a little while to work on the credit, but it is possible. We've had families who have done this, and they have purchased their homes. Yeah. After they've received that advisement regarding their credit score and what are the next steps that they need to do, then from there, we'll take a look at what are your finances. Do you have money saved up? And then we'll start pulling into community resources, first-time home buyers program in the city, and we'll take a look at all that, and then they'll work with the realtor, and they'll continue until they do purchase a home. It's a process, but it's step by step, and they
Right.
have the FSA to work alongside with them.
Yeah. And I know for some families, you guys have talked about, okay, you get your income tax. How about putting some of that money aside, to purchase your home? Like, what I remember a very unique parent that wanted to own her own photography business. And I remember the FSA working with her. And with her actual job, she really didn't have the money to purchase some of the equipment that she needed, like the camera, the lighting, the background, all that stuff that's needed to do photography. And so they really sat down and they said, okay, for the next 2 years, let's look at your income tax. Let's see what is it that you get. And she had 2 little girls, so she was going to get some money back. And let's look at that. And what can you buy this year? And then what do you need immediately, right, to start your business? And then what would you need as time goes by? And let's look at that money, right, that you're receiving. And that's how she did it. And she was able to do her first job as a photographer just based on that, and she eventually did do her business. I remember we even hired her at one point to do pictures at our center when we used to do pictures, and she was able to do it. And then later on, she got into baking, and now she literally lives on those 2 businesses. Yeah. She's been able to be financially independent based on this information that we helped her with, while she was there. So that was really awesome, because not only did we see her kids age out of the program, but we saw her age out of poverty and, being financially independent. Like, those are just, and we could tell stories and stories and stories like that. I remember another time when a parent wanted to get her license, but she didn't know how to read. And so they helped her, to recognize the pictures and that kind of thing. And she was able to get her license, so just, it's really unique and different for every family. But, having that FSA is just valuable. Like, it's just really, really unique.
Yeah, we've had a lot of families that have really taken advantage, not only of the services, but of the time that the child is in the program. We have a lot of those stories, like you mentioned. We had a mom who took her GED, and then she also became an LPN. She got her RN, and her son just transitioned and went into kindergarten.
Yeah.
So the 5 years that the child was with us, because he started in the infant room.
Yeah, I remember.
She took advantage of absolutely every resource.
Yeah, so while he was there, she was at school. She was
Right.
preparing for herself, and I know that she had really, some really unique goals that she wanted to accomplish, and she was able to do that.
She was.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And she also had a lot of challenges in the home.
Yes, because her husband was paralyzed,
Right.
became ill and got paralyzed. It was just a lot going on, but we were, you guys helped her stay focused on what it was that she wanted to do.
There was no stopping her, and it's
Yeah.
all about having a positive mindset and just being very dedicated.
Yeah.
I think also the reality, and I think Alex dying to jump in.
Yeah.
The reality of these conversations that we're having is that not everyone has the opportunity to achieve those type of goals, and it takes a lot of work because of the fact that there are disparities among communities of color, right? So brown and black communities tend to lag behind with some of those things because maybe we don't have the access, or no one has asked us, or the time you're working 2 to 3 jobs to just get through it. So equity is a huge component, or lack of equity, with these conversations that we're having, because it makes it extra hard for individuals sometimes to
And don't get me wrong, I know of families that we continue to work with them, and we weren't able to get them where they want it to be, right? Because of life and other things. but I think there's more of the positive ones than the negative ones, and we don't often tell those stories, and we probably should be, because there is a lot. I mean, I know of tons and tons of families that, moms that started with us and either didn't have their GED, got their GED and went on, and before we know it, their kids were graduating out of our program, and mom was graduating with her master's. Like, we have a lot of stories like that we don't often tell, but I wanted to point that out because having a cheerleader, right? And that's kind of what the family services assistants are. They're not only do they assess the families and help them get those resources, but then they become the cheerleader. And I know that whenever those families would come and share any kind of goals that they reached, we all celebrated. We all clapped, we all laughed, we all hugged them, because we were all, that's like a cheerleading squad behind you, saying you can do it, we're here to help you. And I don't know of any other programs that really have, staff like that, and maybe they do, I just don't know about them, but I know of all the many's that we've been able to do at our center.
And resources for those services are crucial, because when we lose those resources, it impacts not only the agencies, it impacts the parents. Those stories that you're telling and you're talking about are based on the resources allocated to support, because it's a level of case management, combination of navigation and support.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about the health component, because I know that at our center, our goal is that kids are ready, right? Our goal is that when kids leave us and they go into kindergarten, that they're ready for kindergarten. But in order to do that, we got to have kids that are healthy, right? So tell us a little bit about the health component of the program, and what things do you guys have in place to help with that? And I don't know who wants to speak to
So we have a health advocate, Karen Ramirez Nieves, and when the children come into the center during the assessment, during the intake process, what we do is that we request a physical, immunizations, and a dental form. And that is needed for all children to be able to enter into the center. And then Karen reviews that. She makes sure that all the children, that they're healthy, if there's any allergies. We also address that any medical needs also gets addressed. And the first 45 days that the children are in the center is screening time. It's screening and observation. And then we just make sure that the kids are healthy. We do hearing, vision screenings, dental screenings, we do observations, fine motors, language also. So that's the first 45 days, social, emotional. And we also take the weight of the child, height and weight of the child. We also have telemed services.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have a partnership with Rochester Regional, and we have is pretty much like a computerized medical visit. So any child in our center, any parent, any family that is being serviced by us, they can access those services, which is really cool. So we have Karen, and then we have a couple of the leadership team that have been trained, and we have all this new fancy equipment where we're able to schedule a doctor visit. And then the doctor will see the child either with the parent or with Karen. That's the parent's choice. And then whatever the child has as the illness, whether it's an earache, throat, we have that equipment, and we'll insert the equipment into the ear or into their mouth, and it'll take a picture, and it goes directly into the doctor, so the doctor's able to see that via the computer. And then the doctor's able to make a diagnosis, send the medication to where the parent requested the medication to be sent to, and also the doctor communicates directly with the parent.
Yeah. And so that kind of eliminates the child having to leave the center, the parent having to leave work to take the child, which sometimes can take a day or two, right? And the whole purpose of this is not just to ensure that children are getting care immediately once they're feeling ill, but also to avoid some of that absence, right, of child having to be out because they're sick. Or, a lot of times kids, as soon as they start their medication, they can come back. So we're trying to, make sure that they're getting that as soon as possible. so that they can do that.
And I wanted to add that the parents can also utilize the telemedicine.
Yeah, and I want to add that the staff can too.
Also as well. Right.
So that helps us too with, attendance for staff if they're ill, that we can, I think I got a little bit of pink eye here in my, we can get them checked and then get that taken care of right away. I think that's, again, another one of those things that not all centers offer that. But we've been able to offer that. How did that start, Lucia? How did that partnership start with RGH? Because I think that's important.
Yeah, so they were interested from the get-go in collaborating with Ibero because of our population. Obviously, we serve those zip codes, but also because they had a pilot. So they wanted to pilot the idea, once you start to implement those services. It was right after the pandemic.
Yeah. Because
we knew that, as after the pandemic, healthcare kind of switched with the utilization of telemedicine. We actually did a study, or we gathered some data to see how many of our children, could be seen. And it was quite large. So we approached it. I think we still have some work to do regarding enhancing that. But even the equipment is extremely expensive.
Right,
and within the collaboration, we were able to figure out all those logistical components. And now I think we're going on year 2.
We are.
Yeah. And I know that the parents have utilized it. And whenever a child gets sick, we always try to remember, okay, let's do telemed first. Let's see if we can get a telemed visit first, because again, it's convenient for the parent. It's, it's making sure the kids are getting what they need immediately and not having to wait too long. Because sometimes, just for a parent to make an appointment can take a couple of days, depending on when they're available to be at a phone and when their doctor's offices are open. And, some parents can't make a phone call until lunchtime, and some of these offices are closed at lunchtime.
Yeah.
So, I've heard those stories of parents saying, listen, I'm trying to make the appointment. I just can't because, when I'm calling, they're out. And when they're open, I'm busy at work and I can't stop to go make the appointment. So it's really convenient for parents. Now, I know there was some work before I left on Jordan coming and doing some dental screening. Where are we with that? Do we know?
So we're still working with that partnership.
Yeah, because I know they had to look at the space and measure for the portable chair and that kind of thing. But so that's something that, parents can also look forward in the future of having, the dental part. Let's talk a little bit about the dental part, because parents don't always think about dental as part of their child's overall health. And why is it so important for us, that kids at a very young age are already seeing dental? And we've had parents that say, no, my dentist still don't see him, because of whatever. But really that dental care is really important. So I don't know who wants to speak about that.
I can just mention one brief thing. So in healthcare, I remember we were doing some sort of not research, but there was some data shared. And it was regarding the number one reason why children miss school, and it's due to dental issues. And of course, if you don't get to early care with dental, then you get to the point where now it's not preventive. It's now you're just addressing, because you have the cavity or the tooth has to get pulled out. And we really need to get through, role modeling, the brushing of the teeth, and just even the simple fact of sitting on a chair where they are opening your mouth and just checking in.
Right.
Because it's kind of weird. As an adult, we don't think of it, but for a child, sometimes
scary.
It can be intimidating. Yeah. I remember even making me think of my early age, back in the days in school. I remember us together as a classroom, brushing our teeth together and singing a song.
Yeah.
And how that makes you think of continuing behaviors you want to take good care of your teeth.
Exactly. And just think about you as an adult with a toothache and having to be to work or having to be in school and not, just your head pounding because of the pain. So imagine that with kids, right? And also some dental education around, stay away from the sweets, stay away from the sodas.
Bottles,
Don't put your
your
child to bed with a bottle, or a kid sucking on a bottle, till they're 4 or 5. All those things that can cause, and even with an infant, an infant, really you should be wiping their gums after each feeding, because that milk also sits on their gum and can cause damage to their gum. So all those little things that we don't think about but that are important, and that's what I like about Ibero, because we really start bringing that information to parents, at very early on, so that they know, and I remember a friend of the family, her kids went to not necessarily to Ibero, but to Head Start. And, they also have, they're very big around the dental care as well. And she said, had it not been for my children being in that program, still as an adult, I would not be taking my kids to, to their dental follow-ups. I mean, I learned that very early on when my kids were, 3 and 4 and 5, to make sure that I would take them to the dentist all the time. And now as an adult, I still do that, and my kids still do that. They still go and visit the dentist on a regular basis based on those habits that we started very early on. So dental care is really important, and I know that it's important for Ibero.
Mm-hmm. We also have a great partnership that Karen was able to develop with Lori. I believe she's with Health Plaques. And she's been coming over for a couple of years, and she does the screenings, the dental screenings, the cleaning for all the children in the center. She also does an amazing puppet show for all the kids, and they get a bag afterwards so they can start taking care of their teeth. We also have a partnership, you did mention Jordan, with Jordan Dr. Halleck. She does come over, and she does also the same thing.
Screening.
Yes. We're still waiting on the dental chair.
Yeah, we just want to bring it there so that kids can have their follow-up right there. But yeah, those are all great things. Tell us a little bit about the food at Ibero, because I know that's a big topic for most people, and people that, and maybe Alex, maybe you could speak to this because you're new, so you're probably like, whoa, all this food. And my shirts are fitting a little tighter now.
I saw he was eating the oatmeal the other day.
So the food is culturally responsive. The food is amazing. It is the kids love it. Everyone loves it. The staff love it. I've been eating a lot of it, but it reflects the demographics of the child care center. It reflects the population of the children. So children feel comfortable. Children feel like they're at home. They feel like they belong because they're eating something that's similar, that's familiar to them.
To them, exactly.
So, and they also get introduced to new foods. Like I said, we have different
a menu.
And we have different immigrants that are coming in, so different cultures that are coming in. So that the food is reflecting their culture as well. So children are getting introduced to new foods. And everyone gets to eat different diverse foods, and they get to be exposed to different foods and learn. And they're learning. So.
And I think also, again, comparing to other centers, we've probably been one of the few that have kept our cook. Like, none of our food is catered. A lot of places have food catered. And I understand, sometimes you have to get to that point. But we've been able to retain our cook, so things are made fresh there. So frito and all of that stuff is made right there. Where other places, that doesn't necessarily happen because, for whatever reason. We have a full kitchen, so everything is done there. We have a nutritionist that approves the menus. And the menu has a cycle. We have a winter... fall, winter, and then a spring, summer, so it's a variety of foods that the kids are getting, and they do enjoy the food. The kids really do enjoy the food.
There's a lot of new foods on the menu as well. So children are being exposed to different foods from different countries. I know I talked to the person who does the menu, Suellen, and she talked about adding pupusas to the menu.
Look at that.
Which is a traditional
I was so excited.
Some pupusas last night.
Which is a traditional dish from El Salvador.
Yeah.
My wife
That's a lot of work.
My wife is a Salvadoran, so I feel...
they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
So So I'm looking forward to having that, and the children being exposed to different foods.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's cool that they're taking into consideration the new population that's coming in and how we can serve them better.
Yes, Latinos are very diverse, but it's important because it also makes people feel at home, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
and I think it's changing, right? I think in the past, right, traditionally Rochester has been very Puerto Rican, right, or Caribbean, right, Dominican.
Yeah.
But it's changing now. The demographics are changing. We're getting,
and we got to change with the times.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of. We have even teachers. Our teachers are very culturally diverse.
Yes.
We have a teacher from Honduras. We have a teacher from El Salvador. We have a teacher from El Peru. So we have teachers from all over. So
Jamaica también. Jamaica.
From Jamaica as well, definitely. So we want to cater to that.
And that's important. That's important that and it's important also to know that even though they're, like you mentioned, Salvador, and they may be Latinos, but our cultures are very different. Our food is very different.
We speak differently.
We speak differently, in some of our traditions.
Ahorita means, different for different
yeah, right, for different people. But also, the foods and some of the culture and customs are very different. So it's great that you guys are including, all of that. Tell us a little bit about the enrollment process. So if someone is interested in the program, what do they have to do?
So they would call the center 454-1200 extension 240, and the call would get transferred to a family service assistant. The family service assistant will walk them through the process, and the documents needed are pretty much the same for all the program. It would be the child's birth certificate, a complete physical with immunizations, and then proof of income. So for proof of income, if anyone is on social services and they receive food stamps, that becomes their source of income. If they are homeless, then they do not need to provide source of income. They would provide verification that they are homeless. And also proof of residency for those who are 3 and 4.
And that's mostly for the district.
For the district,
because
correct.
the district you have to be within the city limits.
Right.
But for Head Start, you can be anywhere
in
in the
Monroe
county.
County.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the
Yes.
difference. Okay. So the main documents is a birth certificate, the physical with immunization. If they have the dental form, any dental visit, a dental form for that, and then residency, depending on what programs they're going to be going into.
And the proof of income is for 1 month. So if they get paid weekly, then the last 4 consecutive. If they get paid bi-weekly, the last 2. They can also bring their 1040.
Yeah. So there's different ways that
There's
they can
different
do
forms that we can work around. If they do not have any source of income, then just let us know, because we can also let them know what we can utilize.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a statement letting us know that they do not have a source of income. Maybe they're doubled up, staying with family members. Maybe they just got here and they're being supported by other family. So then it would be just writing up a statement.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know what they have, because we can't start any process without those documentations.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are under the assumption that Ibero is just one program. And we offer multiple programs, right? We have Early Head Start, we have Head Start, UPK, we have Child Care Subsidy, we have a before and after care program.
Right.
So we have a lot to offer to meet the needs of families. We have a lot of different programs. I just wanted to give a little more detail about the programs that we offer. We have Early Head Start, which follows the continuity of care primary model, meaning that a teacher who is in the infant room follows their children until they are 3 years old. And our Early Head Start teachers know all the developmental milestones for infants and toddlers. They must have at least a CDA, a Child Development Associate, and or an associate with 12 credits in early childhood. And the program is full year. So,
and it's free to parents that qualify.
And it's free to parents that qualify, correct. We have 5 classrooms, mobile infant, pre-toddlers, toddlers, older toddlers. They have instruction 6 hours a day, and it's for the entire year. We also have a Head Start, which serves 32 children. There are 2 classrooms, a 3-year-old classroom and a 4-year-old classroom. This is a 10-month program that follows our CSD schedule. And we have the different curriculum. It's called the creative curriculum that we just implemented this year. UBK serves 52 children at our center. and it's completely funded by RCSD.
Yeah, and for that one, you have to live in the city.
Correct. That one you have to live within the city limits. We have 3 classrooms. We just added a new classroom this year.
Yeah.
So there's a 3-year-old classroom EPK, which is extended pre-kindergarten, and 2 4-year-old classrooms, UPK, Universal Pre-Kindergarten.
Yeah.
And they follow the high school curriculum, which RCSD does as well. But we also have the child care subsidy program, which services 12 children currently. And these children are part of the DESERT grant provided by OCFS for toddlers needing care in our area. And families must qualify for child care subsidy through DSS. Parents must be working or going to school. The children are between 14 and 35 months. And the teachers in the classroom have a CDA or are working towards a CDA.
Yeah.
And the program is full year as well. And it runs from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. to meet the needs of the family.
Yeah.
We also have the Ibero Extra Care Program, which is the before and after care. It currently serves 17 children. However, it can service up to 30 children. We have a 1-year grant from the Farish Foundation. And it's to provide before care from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and after care from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. for those families that need it.
Yeah.
And is a concentration on language and literacy and numeration as well. So there's a curriculum. We're just not watching kids, right?
Right.
So and the children in the program are current children enrolled in our center, but need before and after care.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Summer League program as well. I want to recognize that program as well that we have in the summer. It can service up to 60 children during 6 weeks of programming in the summer. And we have our own staff who want to work during the summer. The program focuses on math, science, and language, and 4-year-olds are taught to swim.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
and I just wanted to say that I'm new to Ibero as a director, but I want to make an impact, right? I said I wanted to follow your footsteps, and I just want to make an impact on the. Let me give you a little of my background. I was a teacher for over 20 years, and so I felt like I was only making an impact in the classroom, and I wanted to make more of an impact, like on the entire school. So as a director, I can do that. I have a little more power to do that. I can make an impact on the entire student body, on the families, on the children. So I really want to make
And the community.
And the community as well. I love the community component, the fact that we collaborate with other organizations. So I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm developing. So I love the journey that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about, Lucia, the before and after program, because it is specific for 3 and 4-year-olds. Yeah. It is for the children that are enrolled in our center. And how did that come about?
Yeah. Well, so you had a part of it, a big component of it. The Farish Foundation actually had reached out and asked about the before and after, which will give our parents an opportunity to have extra extended time. Right. So that means that for our programs, as you heard, Alex was talking about the eligibility, but it's also, it's a 6-hour program, and parents work longer hours.
Right, at least 7.
At
right?
least
at least 7.
And so having the before hours and the after hours allows for the child to have extended time. Structured, because the Farish Foundation was very specific about, we want to make sure that the time is also spent well. And the children they have a time to kind of, relax. All the activities are fun. They're all engaging. They have their snack. So it's not like we're just going into, very organized, but it's more like time to play, but very thoughtful type of.
Intentional, very intentional.
Yes. And so we were able to do that up to December of this year. We're still waiting to hear if we're going to extend that service for our parents. But I think it's wonderful, not only for the parents, but also for the children. It's a little enhancement for their, professional, for their development. I'm thinking professional development. We need professional development.
Eventually it'll be their professional development.
I mean, little things like, counting and making it playful. It's so impactful for children. I know it has been for me.
Yeah. And I remember having the conversation with the foundation, and they normally concentrated on before and after for elementary, but in conversation with that person, I said, there's a need for before and after for pre-K, but But, sometimes it's hard for parents to be able to pay for that.
Right.
Because most places, if they do have a
There's a
before and
charge
after,
for
there's
it.
a charge for it. And, and so they had this pilot idea and they reached out to us and we were able to implement. In fact, we're the first ones within their organizations to do it. So our success may be, the opening door for other programs to be able to have things like that. Because kids do need, first of all, parents need help with before and after care, because a lot of times that's what hinders parents when it comes to their work and going to school. But then also, how do we make it so that it's an extended of learning for the kids, but in a fun and the groups are smaller, so the teachers can concentrate more with each child, do a lot of one-on-one. It's very specific, to literacy and numeracy, which all kids need. And we want all of our kids, when they leave Ibero, to be ready for kindergarten, which is a huge, and that's why Summer Leap is so important, because it also helps with that summer loss that all kids experience during summer. So really helping our kids to be ready when they get to kindergarten.
It's so
really
interesting
important.
because like before and after and Summer Leap are small grants, but they're so impactful and needed, right? We make it seamlessness.
Yeah.
Like it's not, not, oh, we have this to offer you, but really is such an amazing opportunity for the parents.
Yeah.
And the Summer Leap is one of those things that, summer camp, right? Like I mean, as a parent, I had to pay for summer camp for my children, and it was not an easy
and it's
thing because you have to
expensive.
prep for it for the
Yeah.
year, and that's an additional expense. Having that opportunity to expose children to even swimming, and which
Yeah.
might seem like a little thing,
Yep.
it really is
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Some children will never have that exposure until they get older.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's we're talking
Yeah.
again about equity or lack of
Right.
equity.
And also, I know that for Summer Leap, it's an extension of Horizon, and their focus on teaching kids how to swim. One is because kids need to know that. Why we've had too many drownings, and we don't want that. Also, it helps kids build confidence. And teachers can use that and say, remember when you couldn't swim? Remember when you were afraid of the water, and that now you can float? Now you can swim on your own without the floaty. Well, you know what? This math problem, that's exactly how we're gonna do it a little bit at a time, and you're gonna learn it. And so it helps build kids' confidence. And that's one of the purpose of teaching children to swim. And we want all of our city kids to learn how to
Right.
swim. So really important about that. Lucia, talk to us a little bit about the Greater Rochester Health Foundation, because I know that's been a really big component of a lot of stuff that we've been able to do with that grant, that is beneficial and helpful. So tell us a little bit about that grant and
Sure.
what are some of the things we're doing with that.
Well, so we have an amazing partnership with the Greater Rochester Health Foundation. We had been privileged enough to not only participate in this specific project with the daycare, but also in other projects in the community. And for this one in particular, they want to make sure that the highest, the leadership is heavily involved in this project because they want you to really embrace it. It's not just about a program, but it's
Right.
like the expectation is really high on their
Yeah.
end to make
Yeah.
sure that you're participating. The number one component is equity. When we look at racial and ethnic disparities for this year coming up, we're going to focus on language access. Obviously, we'll continue to do the ads on the radio for the beautiful. I was listening to one over this weekend. I forgot which one it was, but they're just so fun, right? Because we need to we need to reach more individuals other than just the families at the center. And also the collaboration with other organizations that serve children in the area to ensure that for us at Ibero, advocacy for Latinos, Latinx is part of what we do and we continue to do. So the advocacy component around cultural relevance and also language access is going to continue to be part of it. But overall, we're thankful for the partnership. They've been, providing support to us for quite some time, and we'll continue the partnership.
Yeah. So we've been able to do what you were referring to was a minute for children, Minuto para Niños, which I record, It's a 1-minute capsule where it gives you some information on child development or parent engagement, different topics, and we can definitely add more to those. I think we have like a total of 10.
And we added the videos.
Yeah, and we added the videos on YouTube, so you can also find them on YouTube as well. There's a total of 10, which adds up to 20 because they're both in English and Spanish. And please, anyone listening, you can use that in any way you want. If you have a child care center, if you have a school or whatever, and you want to, have those videos playing in your, if you have a waiting room and you want to have those playing in your waiting room, like you could do all of that. That was the whole purpose of doing those things, so that it's not just for Ibero and our Ibero's parent, but it's for everybody in our community. We've been able to offer some workshops on child development for parents. That is specific to Ibero, but if there's a parent, that really needs that and wants to participate, they just need to reach us and we'll be able to do that, or collaborate with other centers that may have parents that need that. Sometimes we need, parents need something like that for court, right, to show that they're doing something, for their family, maybe to gain their kids back or something like that. So all of those things are available, not just our collaboration, but all of the people that are part of the collaboration for the Greater Rochester Health Foundation. One of our goals was to bring more males into our field, and we're so glad to have Alex, right? And we're hoping that in the future we can hire teachers that are males, because that was one of our goals as well. And then again, the language access. How do we help other agencies and other people that are out there doing the work with the language access for our community? You wanted to add to that?
One of our goals is to develop a more culturally diverse work environment by hiring male teachers, right?
Yeah.
And so with the partnership, we have to meet monthly, and during this past month, someone suggested that we can entice young men from high schools, and so I'm going to work on that. I'm enticing males to early child education, because there aren't a lot of men in early child education.
Yeah, that is true.
And it's important that we have men that all children see men.
Yes.
In childcare.
Yeah. And for childcare, there is the CDA class, which is a child development classroom that is offered at REOC. So it's a 6 months training. Once you have that certification, you can work in any child care center in the United States, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. So it's that certificate that follows you wherever you go. So it doesn't, people don't, if you want to go into education and become like you and have a master's in education, that's great. But if you want to get your foot wet and see, okay, is this something that I really want to do? All it takes is a six months training to be able to do that. So make sure that you refer them to REOC
Absolutely.
to take
and
the training.
they're going to have the opportunity to take the course in Spanish as well.
Yes,
for the first time this year,
if they wish to. Yeah, I'm hoping that we get enough people to be able to offer that class in Spanish as well.
So if you have any listeners, who do they call?
So for that, they can go right to the REOC website, or they can call at REOC. I'm sorry,
español.
En español, si quieren coger el curso de entrenamiento de edad temprana, pueden ir a REOC, y ahí esperamos dar el curso ahora en octubre. Creo que empieza como octubre 10, so no tienen mucho tiempo, so you got to go quickly, but there is that opportunity as well, and that's a great idea.
And as a new director, I also want to hire, as part of the goal is to develop a more culturally diverse work environment. So I want to hire African Americans as well.
Yeah.
And so because the children are 40% African American, right? They need to see teachers who are that they can see themselves.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
In the future they might want to become a teacher, so they can look up to teachers that look like them, right?
Yeah.
And so, that was important for me, right? Like,
and our percentage is very low now. We just have one person right now, but we would like to increase that.
But I'm increasing that. So,
good.
But I think I reflect a lot of my experiences when I was younger, right? And I didn't see a lot of Hispanics, in books or in a position, in different positions as teachers, as leaders. And so, as a director, I want to change that.
Yeah,
I want to change that. I
absolutely.
want to give opportunities to everyone.
So are there any openings right now at Ibero that people can apply for, and where do they go for that?
So there's a few vacancies.
Okay.
They can go right into the Ibero website. I have a lot of people coming into Ibero, and so I want to provide opportunities for everyone. And I tell them, to go on the website. I will even help them as well.
Yeah, so they do have to apply through the website. You can't
Correct.
come and apply at the center. So you do have to go to the website, which I believe is www.ibero.org.
Org.
.org?
.org, yes.
Okay.
You can Google Ibero.
Yeah.
Ibero.
So, but make sure you go to the website and apply in the website because everything has to be done through the website.
Yeah, even if calling us is because it has to go through our HR department.
Yeah.
There are a couple for support aides. It's always like a nice way of introduction into the daycare.
Yes.
We're looking for the best of the best, of course, for our children.
Yeah.
And I know that there might be other opportunities as well. But just when you're in doubt, just go in there and check it out.
Yeah, for any job at Ibero, you could go there. But if you're looking specifically for the childcare, make sure you look into what positions are available at the childcare center. Yeah, we want to make sure that, like you said, we want the best of the best for our children. Yeah. Anything else that you guys feel that we should talk about or cover before we're done here?
I think the last piece I wanted to emphasize is the fact that we want the parents to be in charge of or feel included in decision making around the center. That's really crucial and a part of this collaborative that the parent has to have a voice. So currently we have a few of the parents that are part of this, but we want to enhance that and grow it.
Yeah.
And have a diverse group, continuing to have a diverse group of parents to be part of it.
Yeah.
But
we didn't talk about that, but Ibero does have a parent advisory committee. Like they have a parent committee, and those parents meet on a monthly basis, and they get informed of all the updates with the child care center, and they can also make decisions of things that they want to see. They can also plan activities for the parents at the center, and there's a little bit of money in the budget for that. So Ibero parents really can be involved in a lot of different ways. They just need to let us know what it is that they want to do. But they do have a parent committee. And they have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. So, parents from Ibero that are listening that want to be a part of that, let your FSA know that you want to be able to do that, right? Yeah. Any last thoughts? No?
Sure, I'll add that I'm following your footsteps, and I'm going to do everything possible to, cultivate an environment where families, children, and teachers, staff thrive.
Yeah.
So, that's my goal, that we're all thriving.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's a good goal to have. So I like to end the show by asking if there's a phrase or a saying that you grew up with that still resonates with you today, and I'm wondering if you all have one. I hope you do, because y'all Puerto Ricans, and we use refranes all the time. So Lillian, sounds like you might have one.
I do, and
Okay.
mine is always the same. It never changes. Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are.
Okay, good.
And that's always stuck with me because my dad was very protective. I was the only daughter for many, many years, so he was extremely protective, always wanting to know the company that I kept.
Yeah.
And keeping me away from certain people.
Certain people. Con ese no te quiero. Con
Sí,
ese no te
sí.
quiero. What about you, Lucia?
Cuentas cabales, amistades largas, which is something that I live by. And sometimes that's difficult, right? Because you want to be straightforward with individuals so that we know where we stand.
Yeah.
So as much as I can, try to be direct. Sometimes people don't like that directness, but you do have to, because you have to be kind of clear from the beginning. Yeah.
In Puerto Rico, we say cuentas claras conserva amistades.
There you
so
go.
that's how we
That's
say
right.
it. Cuentas claras say yours again.
Cuentas cabales, amistades largas.
And we say cuentas claras conservan amistades.
Same meaning.
Same meaning, though. They're said differently. What about you, Alex? Do you have one?
I have a quote.
Okay.
But I just wanted to add that I'm an advocate, for children. I'm a proponent for education. I went back to school to get my master's in inclusive early child education, and I actually want to continue. I'm a lifelong learner, and so I feel like education is very, very important.
Yeah.
And I have a quote from Nelson Mandela: "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." So
Yeah, that's
I've been
right.
able to do that.
Yeah.
Makes some influence and changes
make a
as a
difference.
director. And so that's very important to me. I highly value education. I want to go back to school. I want to get my doctorate. So
Good.
I want to
Good for
continue.
you.
So.
Nice, that's nice. Well, thank you all for being here with us
Thank you for having us,
today.
Ida.
And I think, Lucia, we need to talk and maybe have more of Ibero's programs here because we don't toot our horn enough. And, sometimes people don't really know what we do and how we do it, and how inclusive we are. That Ibero's not just for Latinos, but for anyone who may need our services. So thank you all for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. Gracias a todos por acompañarnos en esta mañana. Lo esperamos nuevamente el próximo sábado de 10 a 11 de la mañana en Poder 97.1 FM, la única estación radial latina con dueños y operados por latinos, por la comunidad, para la comunidad. Esto ha sido su hora informativa, trayendo la información importante que nos inspira a una mejor calidad de vida. Que pasen una linda semana. Hasta la próxima, mi gente.